Why is the world full of evil and suffering if God is all good and all powerful? Well, this is a great question, and it's one that Jesus actually mentions in one of his parables. In Matthew 13, the parable of the wheat and the tares. We read in verse 27, a farmer's worker went to the farmer and said, "Sir, the field where you planted that good seed is full of weeds. Where did they come from?" See, this is pretty much the exact same thing that people are asking today. God, why is the earth, the field, full of weeds? Evil and evil people and sin and suffering. Where did it come from? And a lot of people just assume, well, the farmer must have planted bad seeds. Well, Jesus says, no. Verse 28, an enemy has done this. See, God is not the source, the author of sin and suffering and confusion and death. That is the enemy's fault. Okay, back to the original question. Why doesn't God just get rid of all the sin and suffering in the world? He's all powerful and all good. He knows what's best for us. He can just snap his fingers like Thanos and just get rid of everything bad. Well, this is the same question that the servant asked the farmer in this parable. He says, should we pull out the weeds? Should we just uproot it? God, why don't you just get rid of the tares, uproot it all? Well, notice the farmer's response, which is God's response. He says, no, you'll uproot the wheat if you do. In other words, things aren't as simple as they appear. God could easily just get rid of all evil and suffering immediately, but why not? Well, because there'd be irreversible damage done to the wheat, the good people, the good seed in this world, in this universe. But why is that? This is because the warfare between Christ and Satan is not a warfare over strength and might. If it is, God obviously could finish it like that. But it's not. And we know this because in Genesis, Satan's attack against God's kingdom is by lying. It's through deceit. It's saying, hey, God isn't trustworthy. This command not to eat from this tree, there's no actual consequences. You won't die. God is just trying to keep you down in a lower state of existence because that's what God does. He's untrustworthy. He doesn't love you. He doesn't have your best interest at heart. These are all the lies of the serpent. And God, he could go and just destroy Satan immediately. But then what would that make Adam and Eve think of him? Would they be like, oh, wow, thanks, God, you're so good. We believe you now. Or would they think that Satan's accusations might have something to them? And so that's what the whole rest of the Bible is all about. God just showing whether or not he's trustworthy. He's providing evidence in case situations over a long period of time, which the ultimate evidence is Jesus. Jesus came and showed that God is trustworthy, that Satan is a liar. Christ showed that he is not the type of person to keep people down so he can exalt himself, but he allows himself to be humbled to exalt others and bring them to eternal life. He came to reveal the truth about God, which is what everything is about. And that's how we're reconciled to God, through the life and death of Christ, because it exposes the lies of the serpent and it shows the true character of God. And this is what it's all about. So when you study the Bible, look for the evidences of God's trustworthiness.